Imagine someone beside you. They are talking, laughing, breathing, and then they are not. One moment a person, the next moment a body. Today we have hospitals, we have doctors who explain what happened, we have funeral homes that take the body away, we have grief counselors, we have language for what we are feeling. But for most of human history, none of that existed. The person simply stopped, and no one knew why, and no one came to take them away. So what did ancient humans actually do when someone died? The answer does not just tell us about the past, it tells us something uncomfortable about who we still are right now. Before we were human, grief already existed. Researchers studying chimpanzees in the forests of Bossou, Guinea, documented something that stopped them cold. A mother chimpanzee carrying her dead infant, day after day, through the forest, grooming the body, refusing to let go. Published studies in Current Biology confirm this is not rare. Chimpanzee mothers have been observed carrying dead infants for weeks, sometimes until decomposition made it impossible. Scientists at the Max Planck Institute recorded one mother who carried her infant's body for more than a day, then gently laid it on the ground, pressed her fingers against its face and neck for several minutes, then carried it to the group, as if showing them, as if asking them to understand something she could not yet understand herself. The researchers called it a transitional period, the moment a mother begins to learn that death is permanent. That learning process may be the oldest thing about us. Early humans, like all primates, likely felt it before they had any framework to explain it. Before language, before religion, before ritual. There was just a body where a person used to be, and the unbearable confusion of not knowing what that meant. The first humans may not have understood that death was permanent. At some point, something changed. On the western slopes of Mount Carmel in Israel, archaeologists found a cave called Skhul. Inside it, 10 human skeletons, adults and children, deliberately placed in the ground, dated between 90,000 and 130,000 years ago. One adult male, known to archaeologists as Skhul Cave, was buried holding the jaw of a wild boar in his hands. Someone placed it there. Someone chose that object. Someone decided that the dead needed something to carry with them. That is not just disposal of a body, that is a belief. Then there is Shanidar Cave in Iraqi Kurdistan. 10 Neanderthal skeletons, excavated beginning in the 1950s. Some of them positioned carefully. Not dropped, not abandoned, placed. For decades, archaeologists believed flowers had been placed beside one of the Neanderthals, a finding that would have proven ritual mourning going back 65,000 years. But recent research published in the Journal of Archaeological Science suggests the pollen was most likely carried in by burrowing bees, not grieving hands. And yet, the burials themselves are not in dispute. Neanderthals placed their dead deliberately in the ground tens of thousands of years before modern humans built the first cities. The most extraordinary evidence comes from a site in Russia called Sunghir. 34,000 years ago, on the plains east of what is now Moscow, hunter-gatherers buried 2 children. A boy around 12 years old, a younger child, roughly 10, buried head-to-head in a single grave, covered in more than 10,000 mammoth ivory beads, 20 armbands, 300 pierced fox teeth, 16 carved ivory spears, and a small ivory horse pendant tucked beside the boy's shoulder. Each one of those beads took more than an hour to make. This community spent tens of thousands of hours crafting objects, and then placed every single one of them in the ground with 2 children who could no longer use them. Humans were honoring the dead long before civilization existed. But ancient humans were not only moved by death, they were terrified by it. And the terror was practical. A body in the cave attracted predators. It spread disease as it decomposed. In a world without medicine, death was contagious in ways no one understood. Ancient humans did not experience death behind hospital curtains. It happened in the shelter, beside the fire, next to the people still trying to sleep. And then something happened that no one expected. The dead started appearing in dreams. For people with no scientific framework to explain this, the conclusion was obvious. The dead still existed somewhere. They were somewhere else. But they were still there. Anthropologists have long argued that many of the earliest spiritual beliefs grew directly from this experience. From the terrifying intimacy of death in a world with nowhere to put it, from seeing a face you loved appear in the dark behind your closed eyes. The dead never really left. Not to ancient humans, they just moved somewhere you could not follow. Here is where it gets stranger. The archaeological record shows something remarkable. Ritual burial appears before agriculture, before permanent settlements, before writing, before almost everything we call civilization. Death came first. In 1973, cultural anthropologist Ernest Becker published a book called The Denial of Death. His central argument was this: the majority of human behavior is shaped at the deepest level by the awareness that we will die. That argument became the foundation of what psychologists now call terror management theory, a framework backed by more than 1,500 scientific studies across multiple decades. The core finding is simple and deeply unsettling. When researchers remind people of their own mortality, even unconsciously, those people immediately begin clinging more tightly to their beliefs, their identity, their group, their sense that their life means something. In other words, the awareness of death does not just cause grief, it causes culture. The moment ancient humans began asking where did they go and will this happen to me, human thought changed forever. The fear of death may have been the first thing that forced humans to search for meaning. Every religion, every afterlife, every ritual, every monument built to last beyond a single lifetime. All of it may trace back to the moment one human looked at the body of another and could not accept that this was the end. Grief itself, the experience of it, appears to be ancient. Anthropologists studying cultures around the world have found that mourning rituals exist in virtually every known human society. Not some of them. Almost all of them. Sitting beside the body, touching the dead, crying together, telling stories about the person who is gone. Staying close to the fire through the night. Ancient humans likely did all of these things. Not because anyone taught them to, but because grief demands expression. And the body finds it. The crying, the sitting together, the need to tell someone what the person was like. We still do every single one of these things, thousands of generations later, with different language and different clothes and different beliefs about what comes next, but the same impulse, the same need. Grief may be one of the oldest things we share with the people who came before us. There is one difference that matters. Ancient humans feared death physically. Modern humans fear it mentally. For most of human history, death was visible. It was inside the shelter. It was the body beside you. It was something your hands had to deal with. Today, death has been almost entirely removed from daily life. We do not see it. We do not touch it. It happens somewhere else, managed by professionals, behind closed doors. And yet the terror remains. It just moved inward. The same ancient fear that drove humans to bury their dead with 10,000 ivory beads. The same fear that created every story ever told about what happens after. That fear is still inside you right now. You were born with it. Every human who has ever lived was born with it. We just found more sophisticated ways to avoid looking at it directly. Somewhere around 100,000 years ago, a human being sat beside the body of someone they loved. They probably did not understand what death was. They had no word for it, no theology, no ceremony passed down from anyone who came before. But they understood loss. And so they stayed. They did not leave the body alone in the dark. They stayed beside it, because leaving felt wrong in a way they could not explain. And then, at some point, they reached into the earth and made a space, and placed the person gently inside it, and covered them. No one told them to do this. No religion required it. No law demanded it. They just knew that the dead deserved more than to be left behind. Even now, after cities and technology and science and centuries of explanation, humans still gather around the dead. We still cry. We still tell stories. We still wonder where people go when they disappear. And deep down, in a place we do not often visit, we are still asking the same terrified question those first humans asked beside a fire in the dark. Will this happen to me too? If this video made you think about something you usually avoid thinking about, that is exactly what it was supposed to do. Tell me in the comments, what is the one thing about death you have never been able to stop thinking about? Subscribe because next time, we are going inside the human brain to answer something just as uncomfortable.